You might have thought the spat with Pat Kelsey was enough, but no. There are now anonymous coaches taking shots at Mark Pope for what feels like no reason at all.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, there's a coach out there that wants to kind of talk trash on Mark Pope's name for absolutely no reason. Why? We'll dive into that on today's episode, as well as why I believe Otega Oweh is a top 10 player in college basketball. There's some recent rankings that came out that I don't entirely disagree with, but I think that Oweh deserves to be higher. I'm going to tell you why. And then to wrap up the show, ESPN's preseason rankings are just straight up wrong. I do disagree with them. I'm going to tell you which ones are the best on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms. And if you are watching on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to the show. And if you are listening on podcast, I would also appreciate it if you subscribe there as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. So there's a coach out there, anonymously, that wants to talk trash on Mark Pope's name and Kentucky and whether or not they should win a title soon. So CBS Sports has been doing this Candid Coaches series. It's Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish, and they've been putting out these articles asking these 100 coaches, nearly 100 coaches, anonymously, different questions about the sport, whether it be recruiting or who's the best, who's the most talented roster in the country, who's the best X's and O's coach, which Mark Pope wasn't even close to on that list, which I am shocked by. Another year will, I think, open some people's eyes. But the most recent article that they posted was a question about the best coaches yet to win a national championship. Who's going to do it next, basically? And there was Kelvin Sampson as the most likely answer. Matt Painter is there, despite Purdue, according to the voting from these 100 coaches. Purdue is the best team in the country, but Painter is like the second best coach, most likely to win a title, which shows you what people think about Sampson and then what they think about Painter having yet to do the thing yet with some of these really talented rosters that he's had. He got really, really close a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, he ran into the buzzsaw known as UConn, which was a shame. But here we are now with Pope, with Sampson. John Shire's in here. And then there's Mark Pope. I believe he was the fifth most likely coach to win a title that has not won a national championship yet. And all of these different coaches in this article provided quotes and thoughts about, again, Shire, Sampson, Painter, multiple quotes for each of these guys. Mark Pope got one. He got one quote in this article from anonymous coaches. And here it is from a coach with no name in Division I about Mark Pope. Since UK can do things no other school can financially, he would have to be a complete bozo to not win one soon. That is not a troll tweet. That is not coming from some meme account. That is not coming from some fake source. This is coming in the year of our Lord 2025 from CBS Sports and Matt Norlander, again, who wrote this article, saying that an anonymous coach out there wants to call Mark Pope a bozo if he does not win a national title soon. You can have your opinions about whether or not Kentucky should win a title in the next 3, 4, 5 seasons, right? I think that Kentucky is going to be in a great position to do so, absolutely. But if he doesn't win one, if he comes very close multiple times, and if he doesn't win that title, is Mark Pope a Division I head coach with already out the gate a lot of success at the most prestigious university in the country when it comes to college basketball? Is he a bozo? Is that the verbiage that we want to use here? I mean, apparently, if you are given an anonymous quote here and you're just kind of let to run wild, you can say whatever you want, however you want it. I want to know so badly which coach decided that, yeah, I'm going to call somebody else who's probably reaching the top of their game right now in terms of their career, I'm going to call them a bozo if they don't win a national title soon, because Kentucky's got money. And we all know money fixes everything. Money's going to get you the best roster in America year in and year out, right? I don't necessarily think that's true. I think it's going to put Kentucky in a very good position. But to say definitively that Mark Pope, again, the word bozo, complete bozo, what coach out there even says stuff like that? I would not put it past Dan Hurley, knowing kind of how he feels about Kentucky, period. I'm having a real hard time wrapping my mind around who else this could possibly be that has this kind of personality that would be willing to say something like that, especially if they what I can't believe I'm just shocked. I'm just shocked. Like who? And it's again, it's not like they cussed. It's not like they called him an idiot. But to say a complete bozo not to win a title soon, you guys know how I feel on this show when it comes to winning a national championship. It is a very difficult thing to do. The NCAA tournament is a very difficult thing to win. Very, very difficult. I think Kentucky is going to put themselves in a position to get close. Absolutely. But are they going to definitively win it? Like you can't put any sort of team in stone, right? We have seen countless elite squads come into this tournament and get bounced because one bad game and you're done. There's no second chances. You can work as hard as you want. You can get that one seed and you can march all the way to the Final Four against Wisconsin, and it doesn't matter. One bad game, a run of mistakes, and it's over. Just like that. I think Kentucky fans know that better than anybody. So to say somebody is a complete bozo if they don't definitively win a title, I don't think that's fair. I absolutely don't think that's fair, even with the resources that Kentucky does have. Now, the expectation, in my opinion, should be to get close, to make those NCAA tournament runs. And if you win a title, congratulations. You got that extra game under your belt, and you have the national championship to show for it. The staff expects national title. I think this fan base expects national title, sometimes irrationally. But at the end of the day, I think that the highest standard you can hold any program to is to make the attempt, right? But if they fail and they continue to get really close, Kentucky was in the final 16 teams in the field with a group of hodgepodge transfer portal players that were put together in a month. Like that, you can't have bigger expectations than that if you're a rational person, right? To continue to have success and not win the big one within the next 3 years. I don't know. I think it might be a little ridiculous. Now, Kentucky, I think, has a great shot to do it this year. Absolutely. And depending on how the roster looks next year, they might have an even better shot to do it next season. Depending on what they're able to do with this recruiting class, Tyron Stokes pending, right? This is a little ridiculous. I think this is a little tasteless. But hey, anonymous coach gets to say whatever he wants, right? And then I'm just shocked that this was something that was actually written and put up by Matt Norlander, not as a shot to him, just like this is the reality that we live in. We could just call each other idiots if we fail to win a title. If we fail to win a title in a single game elimination tournament of 68 freaking teams. Get out of here with that. Get out of here. All right. We'll continue to move on here. I've got one more thing from Norlander, then I want to tell you why Otega Oweh is one of the 10 best players in the country. I think it's pretty fair. It's not like a crazy take. It's not like I'm saying he's top 5 for the best. I think he's a top 10 player. I'll explain why here in just a little bit. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Mazda. Mazda crafts cars. For those who do more than simply move, Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost every season. And like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances like I have, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. All right, continuing along here on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have not subscribed, again, to the YouTube channel or the podcast feed, I would greatly appreciate it if you did so. So, we're talking about how some anonymous coach decided to just blab their mouth about how Pope is a complete bozo if he doesn't win a title in the next few years. Soon. He said soon. So I'm going to assume like 3-year window max is kind of what we're looking at here from this anonymous coach. And it's simply because, well, Kentucky's got the money to get whatever they want. That does not guarantee you success in the NCAA tournament. It does not guarantee you a title. Now, it might guarantee you success, no duh, but as we've seen across all college sports, you could put together a group of the best transfer portal players and you can still fail. You can still fail. Now, roster building, roster continuity can absolutely be done with the money that Kentucky has, but at the same time, to expect a title and like if he doesn't win one in the next 3 seasons, like this season, next season, and the season after that, if there's not a title on my doorstep, he's a bozo. Let's say he makes the title game twice in that span and loses both times. Is he a bozo? Is he really a bozo? I don't think so. In fact, I would say he's very successful. I would say that he's really doing a great job. I think he's getting as close as anyone freaking has, right? That hasn't won a title yet, right? Because Houston sure hasn't done. Is Kelvin Sampson a bozo? Is he really with the resources Houston has? Is John Shire a bozo for failing to win a title at Duke last year? No, I think he's a great coach. It's a harsh comment. And then this from Matt Norlander as well. This was a quote from Norlander in his article. He said, Pope coming in, he's in 4th. He wasn't 5th. Pope coming in 4th was a bit of a surprise from my end, primarily because I did not receive a single vote for him. All of his nominations came from Parrish's polling. Pope hadn't won an NCAA tournament game until this year, but being at Kentucky does give him a rocket fuel to get one, and ideally have a roster in the next few years to have a shot. He's got a shot this year, I think. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious. So Otega Oweh is one of the 10 best players in the country, I think. James Fletcher recently wrote up his top 100 players in college basketball, with Oweh coming in at number 16. I think that Oweh is the 10th best player in college basketball. I can, in my mind, working through this list, I can get him all the way up to number 10, specifically past NC State's Darian Williams. Williams is a great player, by the way. Great player. Really good player. But I think that Oweh has Williams specifically beat in a variety of ways. And frankly, I think he's just going to look better this year because Kentucky's going to be going to have a better team. So it's going to be the surroundings that make him look better. And I think it's the individual stats that are going to make him look better. Brief note. Evan Mia, we talked about this. Evan Mia doesn't even have Oweh in his top 30 players preseason, which I think is more of a computer model thing than anything. It's not like a personal opinion type thing. And this will all balance out, I think. I think Oweh will prove himself. And then also you have to be excited about the depth Kentucky has. They've got 5 guys in the top 100. There's only one other team in the country that can say that. I believe it's Purdue, actually. And hey, those 2 teams clash in a freaking exhibition game in the next 15 days. Awesome. That should be really fun. Oweh, though, has Darian Williams, who, again, transferred from Texas Tech to NC State this past offseason. Both small forwards. Williams, I think, a much better distributor. But anyway, Oweh has Williams beat in these statistical categories: offensive rating, player efficiency rating, effective field goal percentage, true shooting percentage, turnover rate, free throw rate by a significant margin, block rate, steal rate, 2-point percentage, 3-point percentage. Offensively, He is a better player. He scores the ball at a higher rate. He gets to the foul line a lot more than Darian Williams does. It's like 46.6 to like 20 something. I need to go back up the KenPom ratings. I didn't write them down here. But point being, you hear all of those different spots that he's got him beat in. He's a more efficient player in a variety of areas. Darian Williams is a better player if you look at defensive rating, assist rate, and he's slightly better in win shares. It's 4.7 to 4.1 for Oweh. He's still a very, very, very good player, right? Assist rate is much higher than Oweh's. It's over double. He was a much more important focal point of that Texas Tech offense. I think Oweh is not going to be spreading the ball around as much, despite maybe what some pundits want out of Oweh passing this year. I still don't think he's going to be that big of a passer for Kentucky. And then defensive rating. Williams had Oweh beat by not a significant margin, but enough of a margin to say, like, okay, Oweh is a slightly below average defender, and Williams is an average defender, like right at average or maybe slightly above. What will help Oweh this season is to stop ball watching. I think somebody at KSR actually recently wrote about this, and I'm pretty sure this is behind a paywall, so my apologies. I think it's Brandon Ramsey. But like I really do think Oweh needs to stop ball watching and lock in. You really need to lock in off ball. It created some issues for Kentucky last year. Yes, he had all of those breakaway dunks off of steals, but still, I think he needs to really focus on what he's doing and be more intentional with his man on the defensive end. And he's got the athleticism stick with him, so I don't think it's something that can't be solved. It's all about want to. Darian Williams is still a very good player, right? But we can do the whole Pope players are better than in year two thing. We could do that here. But, it's also less about the past and what Pope has been able to do with other players in terms of developing them, and more about what Oweh's role is on this year's team. Because, again, despite the roster getting deeper when it comes to scoring and minute balance and what they're going to be able to do with these guys in this backcourt and then at the wing, I still think Oweh is going to be the primary scorer. He's going to be the primary source for points at Kentucky night in and night out. I think I talked about this recently whenever I was projecting who's going to lead this team in scoring. I think it's pretty definitively it's going to be Otega again. Now, I think he has to be smarter whenever he goes downhill. There are so many different times last year where he was just kind of flailing to the basket and he made his mind up. He was not giving the rock up. He was going to score. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not asking him to kick out more. What I'm asking him to do is to be smarter with his shot selections in transition. Because I think far too often what Oweh did, instead of getting directly to the rim, was he took shots in the high paint, or he was a dribble or a step away from getting directly to the rim and he was already taking a shot. I need him to be more aggressive, initiating contact at the rim. And yeah, he might not get the calls all the time, but I really think if he's able to run the floor with somebody like JQ, I mean, odds are you're going to be able to either get a bucket or you're going to be able to get a rebound off of that if you can have somebody run the floor with you. I think that Oweh can be a smarter decision maker downhill in terms of passing, but I really want to see his shot selection be a little better, and I think it's going to be. He was virtually unstoppable at times late in the year whenever it came to just gliding to the rim. I think he's going to have that in his bag again this year, and it's going to provide scoring that will end up being, I think, more efficient and probably just in terms of volume be a little bit better than Williams. And again, this is not like, oh, he's got Darian beat by a significant margin, like I said at the very beginning of the show. I think this is almost like splitting hairs here a little bit, but I do think that Oweh deserves this top 10 ranking and will prove that based on what he does this season. He won't just have Williams beat again in advanced analytics like we see here, but I also think it's going to be in basic counting stats. It's going to be just enough to push him past Darian Williams in national conversations, and at the very least, Oweh will be comparable enough to start the conversation. So that's my take on it. I think Oweh's a top 10 player in the country. I think that Williams is right there at 11. We can argue about the Trey Kaufman-Wrens and the Tahad Pettifords and the Braden Smiths of the world. Those guys, I think, are just probably a little bit higher than maybe what Oweh is going to provide this year's team because, again, the depth. But I do think that this guy will lead the team in points per game. He'll be able to do a lot of things that are just barely better than Darian Williams. And I also think he's going to be pretty flashy doing it at times as well. Okay. ESPN's top 25 is just dead wrong. It's just wrong. Sorry, hate to break it to you. We're going to explain why here in just a second. Before we do it, though, tell you guys about our friends over at Prize Picks. This episode's brought to you by Prize Picks. Every day we make decisions, right? But on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Playing Prize Picks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. You just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. It's super quick, it's super simple, and they just added stacks as well. So if let's say I want to ride with a player, individual player, I can select their pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns all in one lineup. Used to not be able to do that. It's pretty fun. It's also fun to follow other players in the app and copy their lineups with just one click. If you got friends that want to join in on the action, absolutely, it's a blast. You can download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you place your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, wrapping up today's episode. Really appreciate you guys tuning in. So, ESPN's preseason top 25 is wrong. It is just sadly wrong. Jeff Borzello posted this yesterday. And Purdue is number 1, Florida is number 2, Houston is number 3, UConn is number 4, St. John's is number 5, Louisville is number 6, BYU is number 7, Michigan number 8, and then Kentucky at number 9. Duke is at 10, Texas Tech is at 11, Arkansas is at 12, Arizona at 13, UCLA at 14, Iowa State at 15, Illinois at 16, Auburn at 17. I think they should be dropped a little bit more. That's just me. Tennessee at 18, Alabama at 19, Gonzaga at 20, Wisconsin at 21, Kansas at 22, Creighton at 23, NC State at 24, North Carolina at 25. Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the preseason ranking that you want, right? UConn's not a top 10 team. Not until they prove it. I will continue to hate on the Huskies until they prove me wrong. This is not a top 10 team. It sure as crap isn't a top 5 team. Louisville being above Kentucky, I think it's just wrong. BYU in here, I think is interesting. I like it. Michigan over Kentucky, I think is wrong. Duke needs to be higher. And it all goes back to yesterday, or a couple of episodes ago, when we put this up here on the show. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this most accurate NCAA men's top 10. And this is coming from my father, who is the most accurate, reliable source of information out there. So I didn't know what to do with my preseason ranking, so I asked him, and this is what he came up with. It goes Florida, Purdue, Kentucky, 1 through 3. Houston at number 4, St. John's at number 5, Duke at number 6, BYU at number 7, Arizona at number 8, UCLA at number 9, number 10 is Arkansas. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the only top 10 you need. These are forget a top 25. These are the only top 10 rankings that you need. You don't need 25 teams. You need 10. This is the most accurate out there. And if you don't like it, if you are a Louisville fan, if you say, oh, we should be in the top 20, we should be in the top 10. If you're a Tennessee fan that moronically thinks you should be a top 10 team. If you're an Alabama fan, if you're a Gonzaga fan, if you're a Michigan State, we should be a top 10 team. Nope. Argue with the wall. Until you are ranked, graciously given the opportunity to be ranked in this top 10. You're just wrong. This is objectively the best top 10 in America. I absolutely love this bit, and I will ride with it for the rest of the year. All right, thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Subscribe to the show if you have not already. That's going to do it for today's episode of the show. You can follow us on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at Lansdaw_. And you can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And God bless. It's the only top 10 you need, gentlemen. Rock with it.